I'll put it like this. I know a group that raised VC money, three co-founders. So you figure there's some type of even-ish split right now on a Series E, unicorn valuation. And I'm just crunching the numbers in my head. And I'm like, if they sold for what they sold today, they'll have done marginally better than I did. But they're 12 years in and I was 3.5 years in. As soon as you do the VC route, the speed at which you have to go, there's a pressure on you and your ability to make certain decisions like a sale or whatnot, you start to lose some of that control. So from a speed perspective, do I want to go faster, slower, the same speed that a VC wants to go? I can go faster than a VC out there, otherwise they would do our job. I can go slower than a VC out there and I can go the same speed. So but the reality is I can choose that, right? They're placing 1,000 bets.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast, where every week we hear an amazing story from a serious founder who built a valuable software company and did it without big funding. I'm your host, Greg Head, and this week my guest is Josh Lassav, the founder of Satori Reporting, now known as Zone Reporting, after he sold that company, and he's got a new company, Cauzzy.AI. These are tools and reporting and AI tools for NetSuite in that ecosystem. Let's say an add-on product or an integrated product for that large NetSuite ecosystem of customers and partners. That is the accounting and ERP software, mid-market ERP software now owned by Oracle, a major platform, and he sells quite well into that. He's built two companies that he's grown and sold there, and he's on to his third. And we're going to talk about the lessons he's learned selling in an ecosystem, bootstrapping. He's a financial and accounting expert to talk about what's happening with AI and how he thinks about taking outside funding and the math he does on that. It's a great story, and Josh is just launching in his new company. Hey, Josh, welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast.
Thanks, Greg, for having me.
Awesome. You've sold a couple companies here, and you've got a new company that you're swinging with, Cauzzy. I can't wait to talk about this journey here. But you've been in the accounting and finance world. I don't know. Do you say finance? I don't know which one you are there. There's both things. But you've been doing that for a long time, haven't you?
It's true. I actually did start out as an accountant. That's what I went to school for. That's what I thought I was going to be, but kind of ended up on a bit of a different route, but
Yeah.
cherish that background.
Yes, right. Well, you're the entrepreneur in that space now. What part of the world are you at today? Where are you?
Los Angeles.
What's happening in LA these days? We had fires a few months ago, and I don't know. It's a big place. What's going on in LA?
Well, it's cloudy, which is rare. So hopefully I get a discount on my taxes for that. But otherwise, all good. Nice warm weather here.
Okay, that's great. Well, let's talk about you sold two companies, right? You did the Tactical Cloud. Was that your first one?
Yeah.
And then you sold Satori Reporting, which was your bigger one there. Let's just start with Satori. When did you sell that company?
June 2022.
Okay. So that was just off of the big COVID boom, and it was kind of coming down. You sold it then. How big was Satori when you sold it? How many employees? Can you say something about revenues?
Yeah, we were about 30 employees, give or take.
Wow.
And I can't say specific revenue numbers, but just know we had hundreds of customers,
Okay.
and our ASP was mid-20s, mid 20,000s per year.
20,000. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, so it wasn't a huge company, but you were growing, and it was a very focused company. What was Reporting? I know you sold it, and it's now
hmm
called Zone Reporting, part of the Zone
Yeah.
company. But
Yeah.
what was Satori Reporting?
So the genesis of Satori was prior to that, we were implementing NetSuite, very well-known mid-market ERP system for all types
Yeah.
of businesses. And after doing over 100 NetSuite implementations, we just kept hearing the same theme from our customers, right?
Mhm.
CFOs, CEOs, CIOs. And it was, hey, great implementation. I spent $100,000 or way more. The software is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But when it comes to reporting, I need more. And that's not a knock on NetSuite.
Yeah.
That's a knock on every ERP system out there. Reporting is a bit of an afterthought.
Mhm.
And that's for many reasons, and it's always going to be that way. So it was really hard to hear and to listen to our customers go through this journey of this implementation. And then one of the most important things they need from the system of
Yeah.
record that's capturing all this data is reporting.
Yeah.
So, I started to look into the problem. It's like, what's going on here? Well, they had two key requirements. One is they did want to do more sophisticated reporting with the NetSuite data, which is a combination of financial and operational
Yes.
data.
Uh-huh.
Tons of financial report writing tools out there. When I get into operational reporting tools, now I'm talking about business intelligence,
Yeah.
right? And really, I want one tool to do everything. The second need of these folks is they've got other data sources. No one's just using one data source, right? Whether
Salesforce,
it's
something. Yeah.
exactly a CRM, Salesforce, HubSpot, Google Analytics to track websites, my email marketing tool, my customer service support tool. Boom, 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 boom. The list goes on depending on the industry, size, etc. So I need more functionality, get the reports and analytics I need. I need to integrate these other data sources
Yeah.
so I get one version of the truth.
Yeah.
Well, the only way to do that is to go through a BI tool, a business intelligence tool. That's what they're made to do. But when you stand up a BI tool, Power BI, Tableau, Click, it's like opening an Excel spreadsheet for the first time. It's blank, there's nothing in it,
Yeah.
right? So the journey you're going to go on to utilize a BI tool for your business is you're going to call a consulting for most mid-market companies is what they'll
Yeah.
do. Call a consulting firm, find a connector, pay for it, build a data warehouse, build a data model, build reports. And that process can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, take years, and largely it doesn't work
Yeah.
because the skill set of the folks that do the data warehousing and do the BI aren't
They don't know your business.
necessarily the skill set, right? Who know business or know the data sources like the ERP data, which is very complicated.
Right.
So I'm like staring down this gap of like the number one BI tool is Power BI. I'm working with NetSuite, number one ERP in my mind. How do I get these two to talk? Right? I just want them to talk and to make this easy for folks. So the idea was, can I pre-build the connector? Can I pre-build the data warehouse? Can I pre-build the data model? And can I have pre-built KPIs and reports in Power BI? So
And
here,
dashboards, so not just, list kind of reports, text reports, but dashboards and drill
totally,
downs and, ask it questions and all of that.
totally. That's what the consumer wants at the end of the day. They want reports. They don't care or know about the data extraction, the data warehouse, the data model, right? That's IT's problem. They want
Yeah.
reports. So, do you want to be live in 2 weeks with reports, or do you want to be live in 2 years? And does it reconcile,
Right.
right? And this is what a CFO cares about. So, we built it,
That was
and
Satori
literally in
Reporting back in the day. So,
Satori
yeah.
reporting. And in less
Yeah.
than 2 weeks, you were live. Power BI, all your NetSuite data, everything reconciled to the penny, multi-currency, multi-subsidiary, all types of pre-built reports
Well,
and dashboards, drill through, you name it, all with what have NetSuite customers been asking for years and years and years, and what are finance and accounting best practices and operational best practices, and let's just serve it up to you.
great.
And that was Satori.
Awesome. The and you had 30 employees in there. So it was I mean, you could there's BI consultants out there that do this game, but it wasn't like a services thing. We'll set up your BI, we'll do it for you. Instead of your IT, we'll do it. It was kind of a packaged, configured, right? 80% solution, right? Like plug it in, ready to go, pull out your data, align other data, do some customization around the reports. But you didn't create NetSuite, you didn't create BI, and
No.
you probably use some, I don't know, data warehousing tools that we're well
Mhm.
familiar with. So IT could have done this, but as
Mhm.
you know, they're never going to get there. But you made a
Mhm.
prepackaged one that was ready to go. So it was mostly product, or was there a little service or a lot of service in there?
Yeah, it's a great question. In a perfect world, we would have been 100% product and ARR,
Yeah,
but the reality is it doesn't work. I mean,
yeah,
our customers for us, our customers need service because there is customization because
yeah.
everyone's data sources are different. They need report building help because they may be in different places, their journey of being able to use tools like Power BI. So we were around 80/20,
Yeah.
80%
Yeah.
ARR, 20% professional services. Yeah.
So, and you kind of started to scale that. I mean, there's, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of companies using NetSuite, big, you know,
I think it's
ERP, which is
45,
enterprise resource
46,000
planning,
now.
accounting
Yeah.
software. Like, are there tens of thousands?
I think it's around 45 or 46,000 and
Right.
growing pretty quickly.
And so you were starting to scale right into that, this common universal problem. You were scaling right into that. And then in 2022, another NetSuite kind of product partner acquired Satori. They said, we need that to be part of our suite." So you sold that company. We'll talk about that, but
Sure.
can you say anything about the sale at the time?
Yeah. We sold to Insight Partners, big private equity firm, software
Mm,
space, great private equity firm in the software space, as part of a platform deal with some other NetSuite
I
apps, if you
see.
will. Our vision was actually to go across multiple platforms. So we actually had built out our solution for Intact and we're ready to
Ah,
launch that prior to acquisition. Post acquisition, that got put on the shelf. And maybe I'm digressing because going
yeah,
cross-platform scalability is a whole nother conversation of challenge.
yeah,
But but you know, to something you said earlier, when we sold, it was kind of like peak ZERP era, right? Like
oh
kind of
yeah.
right at the
It's
end,
the
and
heyday, the peak of
sometimes
yeah, tech peak.
it was a heyday. So sometimes timing on your side, I'm not allowed to discuss multiples or revenue or valuation, but what I'll say is the number we got, we thought we'd be worth towards the end of the year, yet we entered due diligence in April, sold in June.
Wow,
Pretty oh,
it's quick.
we can talk about, how hard I pushed during diligence to get this thing over the hump for a number of reasons. But yeah, I mean, when the offer came at something I thought that was a decent forward-looking
Yeah.
valuation multiple. It made sense, I thought to myself, "If I get hit by a bus, my, wife would walk away with nothing, so and my kids, so let's not be greedy. This is a
Hmm.
great outcome, and, we'll see what's next."
Okay. And so that was 2019 to 2022, pretty quick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, 3.5 years.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. And now you're on to your next adventure. You've got a new software company, Cauzzy, Cauzzy, which is
Mhm,
also in the NetSuite
mhm.
ecosystem, talking about AI. And so we'll jump into that. So
Sure.
you're a practical founder that's had a couple acquisitions, and I don't know if you could say they're consecutively more product,
Yeah,
consecutively larger, right?
yeah.
And you're kind of, scaling up here as well. Um, are you turning into a serial entrepreneur that you build one to create the next one, and every few years you get tired and it gets enough value and you want to start the new thing?
Who knows? Is probably the honest answer. You know, I thought and I don't know if this is good advice or bad advice, but I thought that when you have a a good exit and, you can assume the lifestyle that you desire to
Yes.
live,
Yeah. Congratulations.
you slow down, right? Like, and you say, "Well, let's just live it," right?
Hmm.
Let's do something part-time or, whatnot. Well, from 2022 till, starting Causey in 2024, I did that, right? I worked out every day. I listened to more podcasts than any human should listen to. I educated myself, not just business podcasts, life podcasts.
Yeah.
Read every newspaper and site. I took time for myself. And what I found was it wasn't fulfilling. And I needed more. I
Which
didn't want to be on the sidelines. And there's a balance, and I could
yeah.
achieve that balance. So,
Okay.
and I appreciated the journey more than the destination. The
Uh,
destination's always going to be there, and it'll always be there. I also felt myself getting slower.
yeah.
It's like I was like a retiree. So for me, I needed to do something. I didn't want to just do anything. I didn't want to just
Yeah.
jump into something just to jump into something, but and I know to be patient until you find something that you're passionate about and that's realizable. But I thought, I can do this again. I want to do this again. Let's find the right thing. Let's take our time and focus a bit more on balance this time, but
Mhm.
let's get back in the game, right? It's early
So,
in early in the career.
yeah, Zach, are you, let's say, crazy, intense, work a lot, long hours, push hard kind of entrepreneur, like an athlete and training kind of thing? It sounds like it. And then when all that stops, it's kind of jarring. Was it that just kind of mode change that made you crazy?
I definitely like to work. I definitely work hard. I don't think there's any way around that. There's no shortcut.
Hmm.
For any founder or wannabe founder, you're going to work hard and you have to work smart, not just hard. But there's no way around that. Does that mean you have to crank out 80-hour weeks every week? No, but there could be a time where that you need to do that, and
Yeah.
you have to communicate well with your other people in your life, your personal life, if you will, to make that happen.
Hmm.
I don't know
Yeah.
how hard I push others versus try to, like, just work with them.
Hmm.
They may say differently, but, I try to work with them where they are. But, yeah, there is that turning off, but I think also, a big thing is there's definitely work ethic, and some people have that. I think another big thing is life is short, so if you were on your deathbed tomorrow, would you have any regrets? Is there something you would say that you wish you would have done that you didn't do, right? And I don't wanna have that. Who knows what tomorrow will bring and what can happen, and we've all had our own life experiences that maybe make us anxious about these type of things, and maybe that's my own anxiety, but I just wanna do it, right? I just wanna get up and here's the 3 things I have to do today. No
Yeah.
excuses. Let's get them done. Let's
Yeah.
go to bed saying, "You know what? I did it today. I did
Yeah.
it. I did what I wanted to do." And I think that's part of it.
It is one of the paradoxes of this game is we strive for the prize, right? And in our head, it's we're climbing a mountain, we're going to get to the top of the mountain, sell the company, the money hits the bank account, and then through whatever transition period we move on from that. For most practical founders, I know and myself and on the podcast, uh, for 80% of them, it's pretty jarring. Like, how many months did you play golf or sit on the beach and then get back in the game? Because we kinda love this game, and, I don't know if it's an addiction or just the journey is the game, something like that.
Yeah. Everyone has their form of like an act of service
Yeah, right.
that keeps them happy. And there are more altruistic acts of services, but also with the outcomes I can provide to people doing extra services. And where's your strength? And
Yeah.
yeah, doubling down on that.
So congratulations. You built a little company before Satori, we'll talk about that. You built and sold Satori, now you're on to your next adventure, and we'll talk about that. That's a great, practical founder story. Was there any outside funding in Satori, or was that something that you could kinda build, from, customer revenue and cash?
Yeah, we bootstrapped Satori up to a point, and I can certainly get into why we bootstrapped it, but
Yeah.
the only outside funding we took on was in the form of non-dilutive debt,
Yeah.
and we were cash flowing very well, very positively, but it was time to push and pull on a couple levers
Yeah.
and the ROI on doing that exceeded the high price of the debt
Yeah.
because it was non-dilutive, no warrants, nothing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But it made sense to do that, and it really, really helped.
So you were efficient and selling fast enough that you could use that investment of debt and pay it back pretty quickly, including the principal and a little bit of interest,
Yeah,
and end up in a better place pretty
yeah,
confidently. Well, who
yeah.
is your debt partner?
Founder Path
Right.
was our debt partner.
Nathan
Yeah.
and team at Founder
Yep,
Path.
Nathan and team. Yeah,
Right. Can I
yeah.
ask about
Great,
how
great
much debt
partner.
raised? That's an efficient way to do it. And that's why he created it, so you could
Yeah.
efficiently get to the next level.
Yeah, just a little over 1,000,000, and we
Okay.
really deployed it for sales and marketing to push and pull on those levers. Should have deployed more of it on the dev side. My business partner, co-founder, CTO would have liked that, but, we did put it on the sales and marketing side, and, yeah, it worked well.
So with Satori, you had a co-founder, the technical leader in there as well.
Who's the Yes, and he's the same at Cauzzy as well.
Great. Oh, great. And does that mean you were the face, the sales guy, the marketing strategy leader, the partner relationship guy? There's a lot of partners in the ecosystem and, who lead you to customers there. Is that your world still?
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's definitely my world, definitely what I love. I love all parts, right? So I don't code. I can read it to some degree, but you don't want me writing it, you know? So, everything from the vision, the strategy, from the product, but then also all the sales and marketing and relationship execution. So we kind of
Okay.
divided and conquered pretty well. What I will say is what's unique about our relationship, his name's Jason, and I, is Jason's very traditional computer science, full stack engineer background, very smart, very sophisticated. Um, and when we first met, I think this is a good story, so I'll tell it. Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
When I was first starting Satori, so I had this idea and I needed a developer to help me pull it off, right? So I actually went on Upwork and started looking for developers for hire. And I said, okay, I'll hire a developer, I'll pay a developer, and we'll get this going. And I interviewed probably 20 people before I found Jason.
Yeah.
And Jason said, don't pay me a penny. I want equity. So
Oh.
I'm looking at my bank account. I'm thinking, okay, well, that's a good deal. But more than just the money, I said, this guy gets it, right? Like
Mhm.
he wants to partner. He's looking for this. He understands risk and he understands that this can be something big. And that's what started our relationship. So to find my technical partner or co-founder, it was you know, maybe Upwork is the dating app. So finding
Yeah,
co-founders,
yeah.
who knows? So I just thought it was
Yeah.
kind of interesting story.
Well, that's not very typical. Usually there's
So
kind of a partnership, and co-founders find themselves in all kinds of different ways, but it sounds like you've got a trust and a relationship and you guys are doing it again, you're ham and egg in it. And, but I haven't heard somebody say I found a co-founder on Upwork because Upwork's kind of transactional, right? For people looking for gig work. But was he looking for something that he could sink his teeth into and kinda go for it? I mean, he became a full-time employee pretty quickly, right? Or effectively, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, he was, and he's not the only person I found on Upwork. I've
Yeah.
actually had success with multiple people, um, particularly one individual who's actually was with us at Satori, now is with us at Cauzzy, right?
Yeah.
So, another person I found on Upwork who I'm a big believer in where you start's not where you end, and with this
Yeah.
individual, it was, "Hey, why don't you start doing some consulting? We'll pay you hourly and see where it goes," and that became into full-time employment, and now he's helping us build the product with sweat equity, no cash, so which is not the way he normally works, right? This particular
Yeah.
individual is a consultant, like, being paid by the hour, so
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting there. Um, and, Jason did well out of this, like, so well, he's say, "Let's do this again and let me raise my stakes." I think it's one of the most exciting parts, of the creation game in software products, software businesses, categories, all this stuff we're making up and making bigger and true in the world is we get to grow ourselves as part of these adventures, right? Uh, and it's not easy or painless, but we also get to grow a lot of other people who start as hourly and then doing this. And how did you get to be VP of product, right? And there's always that path. And you have an opportunity factory that allows, you to help grow people.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough to remember that if you wanted to somebody worked in your software company, the earlier days, you had to find special people and then build them. You couldn't just order a VP of sales who's done software before. So go back in the day. So that's pretty exciting. Um, how many employees now at your Cauzzy software business?
So we're a team of 7 in total right now.
Okay, all right.
5 of them came from the prior company. And
And you didn't have any problem with your Insight and then Zone, who acquired Satori, rebranded it, and so forth. But there's no conflict there when you get the band back together.
these are all people who had left,
Okay,
way before we started Cauzzy, so it
okay.
wasn't, any type of conflict. And also the other thing is the product doesn't conflict, right? I still have equity in
Ah,
that business. The last thing I
that
wanna
makes
do is
sense.
compete with it because, there's a potential outcome for me. So,
Okay,
yeah, Cauzzy starts where reporting stops, so there's really not much overlap. They're 2 different parts of the process, if you will, separate processes.
okay. And so, what is Cauzzy now in this NetSuite? Do more with NetSuite world.
Yeah, so Cauzzy is super exciting. It's something I've always dreamed of being able to do, whether it was myself or for others, but could never do without AI. So, and when AI first came out, I still couldn't do it. And honestly, where AI is today, there's still all types of technical hurdles that we've had to overcome and are continuously overcoming just to make this possible, which is good, right? That creates a moat.
Yeah.
But it's no simple task. The complexity of this product is 10x of the last product and
Okay.
and whatnot. But what we're doing is, you know, every time I built a report or a dashboard for a consumer of it, a CFO, a CEO, or whatever the title may be, the feedback was similar. It's like, okay, I got my report faster, more accurate, deeper, more complete. But now I have to go do the task of analyzing the report. And that's risky. If it takes me too long or I get paralysis by analysis, I will not extract what I need to extract. If I get this wrong, it could cost me my career. It could cost the company's direction. And really, what they're trying to extract are insights, root cause analysis, predictions, recommendations. And that's not something an FP&A person necessarily can do or should be doing.
And
It's
FP&A is
something,
your finance expert in the business. Yeah.
right? Or certain levels in general should be doing. This is what the C-suite are supposed to be doing.
Oh.
So with Cauzzy, we can automate that process. So we'll start where reports stop. You're always going to need reports. You're always going to need BI. That's not going anywhere. But we do need a third arm to level ourselves up, whether we're a manager or an executive, wherever we are in the organization, to level ourselves up and give us the confidence to be able to know what's going on in the business, what should I predict or forecast, or what risks are out there, and what to do about it. And if I can produce that for you based on a business question you ask, why did my revenue change? Why did my profit change? Tell me about my top 20 customers. Identify my slow moving inventory. What products should I bundle? What should be my pricing strategy?
There we
How do I
go.
respond to tariffs? Boom, boom, boom. It could be recurring or ad hoc questions that I need to ask. And I can answer those for you with insights, predictions, forecasting, recommendations. If I get it 70% of the way right there or 80% of the way there, and then you can refine it by chatting with AI, it's going to save you a huge amount of time.
This podcast is brought to you by my friends at Fullscale. 2 years ago, I interviewed three-time software founder Matt Watson on this podcast about his successful practical founder journeys. Matt leveraged offshore software development talent in his last two SaaS companies to staff up quickly and grow efficiently. So for his fourth venture, Matt created Fullscale, one of the fastest growing software development companies in any region. Fullscale vets, employs, and supports over 300 professional software developers and testers in the Philippines who can augment and extend your core dev team. I know several practical SaaS founders who use Fullscale's dev talent to make progress on their products and do it efficiently. Visit Fullscale.io to learn why their approach works so well for so many SaaS founders. Now back to our program. Well, isn't it interesting how in the early days of accounting software in the enterprise resource planning ERP, it was about actually getting in the data one place that wasn't on paper.
Yeah.
And then it was like getting your basic reports out of it and getting more data, automating more across the company. And Satori took the next level with reports, let's say sophisticated reports across different data stacks in your business. And we're still moving up the hierarchy, of, just asking questions and understanding what's really going on. Is it kind of that same kind of query interface? Like, okay, you get a bunch of reports and you can get it's summary of it, but are you asking what does this mean and what's happening here and what should I do and that, or does that kind of spit out automatically in a savvy report?
We do have pre-built analyses to
I
answer
see.
some common questions like why did my revenue or profit change, things like that. Tell me about my cash flow. How could I improve it? When it comes to the process of using the tool, in my opinion, AI is not quite ready for you to go in and write a question and answer it accurately for a complicated data source. So I can't go in and say identify my slow moving inventory and get a good answer. And there's a number
Mhm.
of technical reasons why.
Just off the shelf AI. Yeah.
Off the shelf AI.
Yeah.
There's going to
Uh-huh.
be a lot of tools out there that say that's exactly what they do.
Right.
I've tested some of them. They can't even calculate revenue correctly off
Yeah.
data sources like NetSuite. It's
They
just not that
hallucinate.
easy.
Right. It's a
They
rough estimate.
hallucinate.
Yeah.
They don't have the full data set. They won't reconcile. There's so many hurdles to overcome. So where we're at is there's some work we'll do to structure that question with the data before we feed it to AI. So think of us part of our product and part of the moat is the preparation to make AI be successful. So there's a bit of training there, right? We're not a
Yeah. Yeah.
wrapper, but there's a bit of training there that needs to happen. And then we can use agents to analyze the data and refine the outcomes for the client's benefit. So will we get to a point where you can ultimately key in a question or type in a question? I think so, but it's not an us thing, it's an AI
Mhm.
thing. I
Wow.
can't I'm not gonna compete with Anthropic or
Yeah, of course.
OpenAI on building a model. I'm gonna leverage what they have, and I don't think they're there yet, right? I think over time, but not yet.
So, and this is an interesting business model. You didn't invent the AI platforms or the BI platforms, Power BI, and you didn't invent NetSuite. You're
Mhm.
playing between giants, right? And making the
Yeah.
final leap, right? You're on the frontier of these, the edge of where this is getting pushed, right?
History has a funny way of repeating itself,
Mm.
and, in my opinion, in this space. So, even today let's just go back to BI tools for a second.
Hmm.
Even today, BI tools are generic, right? If you go buy Power BI, Tableau, Click, Looker, whatever, right? They may advertise connectors to a lot of common data sources. How robust those are, hit or miss. How thorough, accurate, whatever, reconcile, hit or miss. Even if they're good, you still have to go build the data model and the data
Yeah.
warehouse and all the KPIs. It's like there's still so much work. Why are they not pre-building this stuff per platform? Right? Why are they not creating a solution? They're creating a platform, but not a solution. Now someone has to go do this on their own. I'm seeing AI do the same thing, whether it's these agentic workflow tools or just using AI traditionally itself, and there's plenty of them, it's the same pattern. Now they're talking about having all these models that again will connect to all these different data sources. It's just BI repeating itself over again. And so if we can get ahead of the curve
Yeah.
and we can be the solution for the buyer, not the platform that they have to go finish building, right? I'm not
Right.
trying to drop off the building materials at their house. I want to drop off the house.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that we can stay ahead. And eventually we like to not do other data sources other than NetSuite. Let me take a step back. We're already doing data sources other than NetSuite, right? We're going to start with NetSuite because it's often a company's most voluminous and complex data source, and we'll expand from there. But we'd like to do other ERPs, and I think we'll get there with time, but focus right now on NetSuite.
Yeah. Laser focus. So, it's interesting here in the NetSuite community. Are you well known in the NetSuite community? This is the leading mid-market ERP here in the States, and Intact is another one. But NetSuite has been around for a while now, owned by Oracle, has a massive ecosystem of services partners that will implement and support it, and product partners. I guess you'd be in that category as this, and they have big conferences and so forth. Are you well known as one of the product, the savvy product leaders doing cool stuff out there? And a lot of partners, whatever, hundreds or thousands of them?
I would like to be more known in the space.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to say. I'm definitely known in the space. Yes, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not the biggest player or anything, but
Right.
I'm known. I'm definitely
Yeah.
known. But yeah, I mean, I know a ton of the partners. We actually, so this go round with this
With Cauzzy.
business,
Yeah.
with Causey, we actually did take on funding. Now, we didn't need to, and we didn't take on a tremendous amount, and we didn't give up a tremendous amount of equity, way less than you would with a seed or a Series A kind of investment.
Hmm.
But strategically, what we did is we found in our network, we talked to a number of NetSuite consulting firms, partners who are elite, who have massive client bases and are well respected in the community. We approached them, and these are people I know, right? I worked with for
Okay.
years, and I told them about Causey, and I said, "Would you want to invest?" Within a month, we were had more partners interested than we could handle, so we just took four because we filled out the round. And they're not VCs, they're not investors, they're not angels.
Yeah.
This isn't what they do, right?
Yeah.
But they saw the vision, there's an ROI, and we can partner together. So they can give us professional services support, they can give us product ideas, and they can give us lead flow.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's good to be known in a space and have some reputation and whatnot. It's helpful.
Yeah. How much did you raise in this little funding for Cauzzy?
Just a million, 1 million.
Okay, just a million,
Yeah,
as we say.
yeah,
Well, that sounds really practical, right? It's, you could have found, whatever, friends and family and angel investors. You've created and sold 2 companies so far, right? And you're getting better and better at this, and you know how to do it. You're kind of a made man, but you didn't do that. You actually said, "I don't really need it," but what would be great is, some of the biggest names in the ecosystem become investors, strategic partners, who
yeah,
advise us. You could leverage them. You can go to their customers, presumably, right off the bat and get kickstarted. So that's kind of like a strategic angel. Like you can get some business
yeah,
impact out of them, presumably, right? And likewise for them.
totally.
Yeah.
If capital is a commodity, how are you gonna get an ROI on it, and from who? And again, it was in my brain, the last thing I wanna do is get diluted, for X number of reasons, but this was like, "Hey, if this just made business sense." I mean, these
Yeah.
are folks who can the amount of help and support they can provide outweighs the dilution at a huge exponential degree.
Wow, that's really interesting. And you're thinking about literally the spreadsheet math on this. This isn't like,
Yeah.
as a gotta get finance guy, it isn't just like there's a great ROI. We could actually say "Hey, this pencils out." Wow, that's interesting. Um, so why is it that you've been a bootstrapper through the years? I mean, it's typical for service partners in an ecosystem to get things up and running, products and services or transition there usually isn't VC funding for products within an ecosystem like NetSuite or Salesforce, so early on. Um, but what is it about, how you had did Satori reporting and your previous one, and now this one that says, I just want to stay lean. Really don't want outside investors. You could get them now if you wanted, like institutional investors, like VC investors.
Yeah, I think there's a couple reasons. Obviously, retaining as much equity as possible allows you to have a great outcome quicker than those who go the VC route.
Well put.
So
Yeah.
I'll put it like this: I know a group that raised VC money, three co-founders. So you figure there's some type of even-ish split, right? Now on a Series E, unicorn valuation. And I'm just crunching the numbers in my head. And I'm like, if they sold for what they sold today, they'll have done marginally better than I did, but they're 12 years in and I was 3.5 years in.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting all companies don't need to go the VC route. I think
Yeah.
some companies, some business models do. You have no choice, right? You have to
Hmm.
do it.
But if you
But
have a choice,
but if you have a choice, why not try it? And people are scared like, well, there's too much competition or I can't go fast enough. I think if I th- I think those are all reasonable, but if you can try it and see where it goes, you could always do it later on, but just where you start's not where you end. Just give it a shot, see what happens, and candidly, if somebody else was gonna beat you to market, they're gonna beat you to market, or if someone else can take the market share, they'll probably take the market share, whether you raise the money or not. So, dilution is a
hmm
big one. Control's another one. As soon as you do the VC route, the speed at which you have to go, there's a pressure on you, and your ability to make certain decisions like a sale or whatnot, you start to
the sale
lose
of your
some of that.
company. Yeah.
Right, you start to lose some of that control. So from a speed perspective, do I wanna go faster, slower, the same speed that a VC wants to go? I can go faster than a VC out there, otherwise they would do our job. I can go slower than a VC out there, and I can go the same speed. So but the reality is I can choose that, right?
Mhm.
They're placing 1,000 bets, and they're saying, "I'm gonna push each one of these bets as fast as humanly possible." That may not be what the company needs.
Yeah.
If their outcome isn't, 100x plus on their investment and it doesn't pay back the portfolio, they're looking at the power law play there, then it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of great businesses that probably would have done better without that pressure and expectation. So I don't want that. I don't want that. And also as a human, who knows what we're capable of, right? Like we're gonna make mistakes. We made plenty of them. And we're gonna course correct and all those things. So let's go the right speed. Let's retain control. Let's not add the pressure. And let's go faster and slower when we need to, right? And make sure our customers get the good experience. So again, is VC money strategic? And would I take it later on? I'll leave any card on the table. I don't know is the
Mhm.
answer. But if can start another business without it and bootstrap, for all the reasons I mentioned, I would do that any time over and over. And I think I could have a better outcome quicker. And just, I could eat my words. We could talk in 6 months and a year, and I could eat
Mhm.
my words, but based on my experiences, this is what I'm comfortable with.
Well, it's very practical, Josh. And before we started this, we were talking about some of the paradoxes of the difference of where you start is not where you end, and things change as it grows up. But you said something really interesting. If I don't raise VC funding, I can get a better outcome for me faster, which is in direct contradiction of what do you mean you don't want to go fast and get VC funding, right? Like, there's a puzzle there, and I see this over and over again, is that founders who build the right product for their right customer and build a solid business, product market fit, and efficient customer acquisition and high retention, so forth, do the right thing in a small community where they have a reputation. they can build a better outcome for the founders faster than if you raise money and you have to get higher and higher and higher. And, it's a different DNA to that. It's totally possible to win big with VC, but it's just pretty rare, um, and not very common. So, well put there. And I know you're very savvy about the financial game, right? That's your background and experience, and you kind of penciled it out, and it seems to work for you. It's not like you have a religion about control about your business. You prefer that, to do the right thing. So that's awesome. Um, so what was your background? Did you work in accounting firms or a consultant or, accounting and finance?
Yeah, for sure. So, studied accounting and finance, double major, worked in accounting firm throughout college, on an internship, and then post college in their consulting practice, tried different things, never kind of found what I liked. Ended up helping start a NetSuite partnership where we implemented NetSuite and some other tools. And I would say that's really where I kind of the lead founder, was a mentor and really cut my teeth and learned a lot about entrepreneurship and
Mhm.
um, kind of learned a lot and gained the confidence to then go and do my own thing after that exit. So yeah, a lot of accounting and finance and systems is where I've spent
Well,
my
a
time.
lot of accounting people are CPAs and they become lifelong CPAs, and it's a complicated puzzle, and people get very successful at that, and or they do the consulting thing. Did that just not fit with you? You just wanted to make stuff or, be outside the system a little bit. And a lot of people leap over the technology side just to, go build with all of their accounting knowledge. What was it that made you say, a life of consulting isn't for me?
I think we have a million little experiences to mold us into who we become. And,
Hmm.
for anyone listening, whatever life experiences you've had, it's molded to you. And there's not necessarily like one thing you can
Of
change to flip a
course.
switch to become an entrepreneur, but there's definitely best practices. It's something I always wanted was to kind of have my own business,
Oh, there you go. Okay.
be in control of my own destiny.
There you go.
When I was in high school, I was selling um, Sherps, or ran a ski trip, right? Little businesses that I had. And it just, to be honest with you, like working in an accounting firm or consulting firm is a great life. People make a lot of money. They're very successful. They're very rewarded by the work, but there's a ceiling.
Yeah,
And I didn't want a ceiling. I didn't want to be a number. And,
that's awesome.
everyone's different. So,
Yeah, that's right. I totally get it. And it seems to be working here. So that first company that you worked with a founder on that was part services and I guess experimenting with products. Did that lead to the Satori reporting that you built
yeah.
and sold? So
Yeah.
you did a
Everything's
one
kind of
hop and then you did it yourself. You were hurry up and let me do this.
Yeah, everything's kinda built upon itself. So there's actually 2 product companies that came out of that one.
Hmm.
Both those products, Satori and then another one called Tactical Connect, sold to Insight Partners. Tactical
Oh,
Connect was much smaller,
yeah.
but it was exactly that. The first one was called actually Tactical Cloud, then Tactical Connect, then Satori. So it was that all in the NetSuite ecosystem. And for an impatient person, which is what I am, kind of digging my teeth in, staying focused, staying in my lane, help come up with the product ideas, helped advance the products, and
Hmm.
build each company bigger accordingly.
Yeah. So what can you tell founders in, across some are selling in other ecosystems, Salesforce or whatever, but most are not. But what can you say about the benefits and challenges of focusing on the NetSuite ecosystem, their product add-ons and their marketplace and their partners and NetSuite itself, right? Dealing with the center of the universe.
Yeah, I mean, probably similar to any ecosystem, you always have to worry about the system itself taking you out, right? So they could
NetSuite adding
create,
those reporting
yeah.
features or whatever. Mhm.
And by the way, when we were at the Satori days, They didn't have a pre-built data warehouse with BI tool on top, and then they did all of a sudden.
Magically.
So that happened, but it's a big market, and we did just fine. It was competitive, but that's
Mhm.
okay, right? Plenty of space. I like to think we have a good relationship with NetSuite. So there's always that's always kind of the biggest risk of being in one ecosystem. It's almost like a customer concentration risk, except
Yeah,
the
uh-huh.
flip side of like
Yeah,
competitor concentration
yes.
risk. So there's that. But it's nice that when we get on a phone call with a NetSuite company, we can say, I'm NetSuite certified. Most of the
Mhm.
team is. We've been working in this space for X number of years. We've done so many implementations. We've supported so many customers. We are focused on you.
Yeah,
And obviously that helps the sales motion. And it's true. And even one thing I'll do, like with prospects, I was on with a prospect last week, and they're a software company. And long story short, their NetSuite needs some work, right? They need
shockingly.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly, right? They've been on NetSuite for some time, but they're not recording revenue recognition the way they should from an automated fashion. They're not integrated with Salesforce for their contracts and bookings where they should be. And, the CFO rightly asked, like, are we ready for your tool? And well, I'd love to go sell an instance. The answer was no, you're not. Let's fix your house before we do this. So being in this space, kind of being focused, I said, I'm gonna send you an email with some independent consultants and some consulting firms that can help you. I'm one person, triangulate these recommendations against anyone else, but anytime I'm on a phone call with a prospect or customer, I always ask, how's NetSuite going? Do you need any systems help? Not something we do, but I can make recommendations. So any value we can add to their experience with NetSuite, we're going to be the first to do it, right? We want
yeah.
them to stay on NetSuite. So staying in our ecosystem, staying in our lane, I think lets us be the best partner possible. We have grandiose plans of expanding outside of NetSuite. We almost got there with the last business. To be honest with you, it's a really daunting task. It's a really
A whole
big
other
s
universe to go
it's a
over
big
to
step. That's
another
probably where you're gonna
accounting,
have to
yeah,
come in and help us from
community.
a consulting perspective. But, yeah, it's comfortable in our space.
Yeah,
Again, it'd be nice to step out, but it's comfortable.
yeah. So in the accounting world, mid-market accounting, there's usually an accounting partner that helps implement the accounting software, the
Sure,
ERP software.
sure.
So when you sell Cauzzy now, do you sell to NetSuite customers or do you sell to NetSuite partners who bring you to their customers? Or a little bit of both, but like what is your primary growth motion that you're imagining for Cauzzy? I know it's
Oh,
just
oh,
launching, so you're just
yeah,
getting
yeah.
going here. So yeah.
Well, I mean, we can run back a similar playbook, but all the above. I mean, our sales channels, our direct sales channel, direct to a company on NetSuite will be our most
Okay.
rewarding because, we're in control and we're thinking about it all day, every day. And that has to be our biggest engine.
Right.
Secondarily will be the partners, right? Our
Mhm.
partners are rewarded monetarily from us and from their customers by recommending our product, implementing our
Mhm.
product. I mean, if I am your implementation partner of NetSuite and I do a good job for you, you'll stick with me and you get a recurring revenue stream from NetSuite on the renewal of that software. Well, if you're not doing a good job as a partner, that company could leave and someone else could take that recurring revenue. So you always have to be providing value. And if we
Mm.
can be that value for that partner, if they can also get referral fee from us and they can get professional services fee out of this, then it's a win-win all around for them. The third channel is something that we couldn't do in prior businesses, but I'm really excited that we're already starting to
Mm.
do in this business is attract companies who are not on NetSuite today because of what we're offering.
Right, which is really what
So
NetSuite's trying to do is get new NetSuite customers.
their number one
Right.
goal is new logos, and we're not gonna take a commission from NetSuite. That's not our game. We don't need to take a commission as we attract new logos, but we wanna partner with them to help them
Yeah.
do that. And
You're
it's a
so their
huge
sales team, their NetSuite sales team It wants to bring you in and say, "Look at this cool thing you can do here that you can't do with the competitors."
Yeah, they don't wanna do that yet, and I don't know how long it'll take them to
Okay,
get
yes,
there, and
right,
hopefully
okay.
they get there. That's from your mouth to their ears, but, we're gonna do it anyway, regardless of if they ever ask or they ever thank us or they ever bring us in. We have I have a CEO I've worked with for years, and, he said to me, "When are you gonna make Cauzzy work with QuickBooks?" And I said, "We're probably not." Like, your QuickBooks customers are used to spend $50 a month per user, right? It's a
Mhm.
little bit different than a NetSuite customer.
And how
So it
much
probably
do
doesn't
people pay per year for NetSuite? Is it
it
50,000, something
ranges.
like that?
It ranges. I mean, you're probably not gonna get in for less than about 10 to 15 on the bottom, and it can go up. I mean, probably on average, yeah, or somewhere around 50,000 is a good number.
Yeah.
The ROI
One
is
of the
there in
companies
case
I helped
anybody's
grow
getting a
started with, NetSuite, very small, right? It was a big upgrade from QuickBooks, and it was a lot of heavy iron. We grew so fast that literally between a little CRM and the back office stuff and everything else, we were one of NetSuite's largest customers within 4 years. It
wow.
just had grown so fast. So, yeah, I totally appreciate that, and, quite a complicated, system. What is NetSuite saying about AI these days? You got the cool AI tools story on top of NetSuite. Is NetSuite coming out with AI bells and whistles?
So, expecting a phone call. I was told of being a phone call today from the head of NetSuite's, app partnership program. I'm trying to get us We were in it with prior apps. I'm trying to get us back in that with NetSuite's app. So
Yeah,
obviously this would be beneficial for a lot of reasons. So fingers crossed that they don't shun us for any reason. I can't imagine they would. We're
yeah,
only here trying to help them. But they've got stuff in the AI space, and they don't have anything of what we're doing, which
right.
is we are not competing with them. And I don't imagine we will for some time. I mean, maybe one day they'll come out with something like this, but for many reasons they may not. So they've done a good job so far, and I think a lot of people have downplayed the success they've made, but they've built in a lot of stuff just to help with text and narratives inside the tool,
Yeah,
product descriptions and other things. I think their big opportunity, and I think they'll get there, is process automation. So
right.
reconciliations, journal entries, things like that, like purchase order creation based on low inventory. That's the low hanging fruit. And that's the stuff that would really, really make a difference.
Okay. Well, tell us where you are with Causey right now. Your website is up, and I know there's a little hand waving like it's coming soon. And do you have customers and paying customers yet and partners lined up in that whole go to market launch game?
Yeah, so we announced to the market we came out of stealth 2 weeks ago and announced to
Oh,
the
great.
market, that we're here. Our inboxes are full. It's been wild.
Okay.
It's, you
Congratulations.
know, the engine thank you. I mean, there's still more work to do, but one step at a
Yeah.
time, right? The engine is not even turned on from a sales and marketing perspective, and things are humming. So awesome place to be in. The product formally launches May 1. We've got customers in beta right now. We've got customers teed up to go live in May. We're only going to take on a certain number of customers per month at first
You
so
think
we can make sure we execute really well and give them an amazing experience.
there's your
We'll give
pace
those customers,
control? Yeah.
yep, that's right. It'd be hard to do that with VC money. Um, we will give these customers trials so that way they can back out if they don't like it. We will put our money where our mouth is. We will make it risk free. We will do right by these customers and, you know, make it easy for them. But yeah, so you know, we're all sweating because it's down to the wire, and there's a lot to do, but we have a small and mighty team, and I'm really proud of everybody and what we've done, and I just can't wait to launch at this point.
Okay, here we go. You love the game. Congratulations.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to, let's see, it was 2022, was that when you sold the company? And you stayed on a year and a half with the Zone company that bought Satori Reporting.
Mhm.
Sure, that was an adventure, but
Mhm.
how long between, I go sit on the beach and get healthy or whatever it is, and now this launch? How long did it take to gin this up?
Once I was officially done with the acquire maybe like 2 months. I mean, I'd already been
Wow.
toying and tinkering with AI in
Okay. A
general, but
little, a little
then,
thinking time. Yeah.
you know, the idea was always there, it was just never possible. So I was always toying and tinkering with AI, but then once I was actually released, I could start on something and yeah, and then been working on it kind of ever since being released, and then,
And how long is that? Is it took you take you a year to get this stood up?
I left December, I think it was December or January of this, let's just call it January 1, 2024. So it was largely spending all of last year on
Yeah.
this. And then we closed our funding the end of last year,
Okay.
the end of 2024. We had people working on sweat equity, but then hired our first full time AI devs in January of this year. So we took cobbled together a product, and now 5 months later, 4 or 5 months later, I'm going to take the full version V1, if you will, MVP to market.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it. I haven't been paid in a long time, and other people too, and people working on sweat equity, and that's part of the game. That's part of the risk. So we're all ready to see this work and generate some cash flow.
So you've got co-founders and employees with equity, and you've got this thing going. What is your
Yeah,
vision for this? Which is, and you have investors too. What is your vision for this? Is we'll grow this as a pace, and I don't know whether funding or not, or exit or not. Should this be $100 million company, or do you have some kind of, I don't know, plan A?
yeah. I think there's a couple ways to answer that. I mean, one is, let's do it until it stops becoming fun.
Okay.
I think that's one leg of the stool, if you will. Should this be $1 billion business? Of course, but there's no need to be greedy. If the right opportunity comes for the employees, for the business, then let's do it, right? And maybe
Yeah.
that's a platform. It becomes its own platform and takes gross equity. Maybe it
Yeah.
joins a platform. Maybe
Hmm.
it's just an outright sale. Let's do it. I'll say this. I was talking to one of our employees today who's only paid in equity, but we worked together prior, so there's some trust and whatnot there.
Hmm.
And he said to me, he said, "What's the number that you
Yeah.
want to
Uh-huh.
sell this at?" And I said, "What's your number? What do you wanna make from this? Because
Mm.
whatever number you tell me, I know I'll be fine. It'll be a great number for me. So what's gonna make you happy? And let's shoot for that," right?
Yeah.
Because again, in my brain, it's like, "Wow, could we get to 1 billion?" But the reality is, we'll probably sell way before then. And he told me his number, and it was like, he'd love to see us sell for 200 million. That's a huge number. That's a
Yeah.
huge target. You don't get there overnight, but at least now I know where he'd be happy. And he obviously said, "Let's get there in not
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
years, but could we do it in, 5 years?" It's like, okay, let's shoot for it. And I,
Right.
I kind of like that, like let's focus on the people, what they want. And I think the
It's
rest will
really
work
interesting.
out for me.
Right. Your number, changes when you get investors, right? The bar gets raised here, but
Yeah.
you're kinda basing it on, how can I make this a life-changing prize for the employees who are
Yeah.
coming in to help? And that's a really wise way to do it. I mean, that's how you attract great people and get them to do great things. And, yeah, I totally see that. Really interesting is a baseline, scenario there. And who knows what can happen, but you might not sell this so early, right?
Mm.
This time
Yeah.
around, just to make the price or consider funding in that equation.
Yeah, I mean, I know where my skill set starts and stops. I think my ambition is bigger than my skill set, so I
Hmm.
need to partner with
For now.
for, I need to partner with the right people. And the biggest compliment I've gotten is people want to come back and work with us
Yes.
again.
Congratulations. Yes.
And if we can make them successful and we can give them what they need and want, and everyone's different around what they need and want, I just in my brain, right or wrong, think we'll be better off, and in turn, we'll all be successful. So let me do right by the customers. Let me do right by the employees. Let me not focus on the valuation and the exit.
Yeah.
And if I can just do that, hopefully it'll come. It might be smaller than the last business. It might be bigger or it might never come. But at
Yeah.
least I can know I did right by the customers. I did right by the employees. We gave it our all. And hopefully the rest works out.
Those are very wise words. You don't have control over everything, and it's good DNA when you're not pushing so hard for something you don't have control over. Let's do the
Yeah.
right things. Great customers, great business model, great spreading, um, and it ought to be a smash success. So good luck with that. Yes, congratulations, and get back to your inbox here. Josh, I ask founders on the podcast here what advice they'd like to share. I guess you'd say general advice for the practical founders out there who are building software companies without big VC funding. What advice do you share most often with founders that they find most useful?
Two things. I think we touched on both, but just to reiterate, one is don't have regrets, right? Don't get to your deathbed and say like, I wish I would have done that. Just try it, right? Just figure it out. Try it, right? Maybe it's working two jobs for a while, but try it, right? Take that leap. Get up to bat. You'll never hit a home run if you don't step up to the plate. The hardest thing you can do is step up to the plate, right? Everyone else wants to go watch TV at night. Just step up to the plate. Just try it. You never know. And you gain a little momentum,
Hmm.
it'll be worth it. Um, and the second thing is there's no idea that's most ideas are not too small. Like where you start's not where you're going to end. And, when we first launched the business Tactical Connect, which was this data export tool for NetSuite, and it was selling for 5 grand a year, it's like, wow, we got to sell a lot of those to be able to make any money. This is never going to be something we should focus on. But that product led to the Satori product.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And, so all that experience led to Cauzzy. So I just think,
And you wouldn't have gotten to that had you not started with something
yeah,
in the first
I,
place.
exactly. I think if you're like, how do I get, maybe if you do your TAM calculations and your ASPs and blah, 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 all the math, and you say to yourself, I could see myself getting this to $1 million ARR a year. Yep. I don't know what I could do after that. I'd say do it. Because if you can figure out how to get from 0 to 1 million, I bet you when you get to 1 million, you'll figure out a way to get from 1 to 3. And when you get to 3, I bet you'll figure out how to get 3 to 5. And then
Exactly.
listen, maybe
Yeah.
that's the right lifestyle for you, or maybe you sell or whatever, but just you never know. So you
Right.
never, where you start's not where you're gonna end.
Awesome. Well, that's great advice and a great perspective for founders to think about. Josh, congratulations on your consecutive, products there. And, you're a serial entrepreneur, I have to call
Thank
you.
you.
And good luck with Cauzzy as it moves quickly in the ecosystem there. And you're doing the right things for your customers and your partners.
I appreciate it. I love everything you post on LinkedIn, and that's a tremendous compliment. You're much more articulate than I am about this stuff, but
Well,
yeah.
that's what I get to focus on these days. So I have fun with that. So I appreciate you being on the Practical Founders podcast, Josh. Good luck.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for watching this week's interview on the Practical Founders podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Practical Founders YouTube channel to keep up with my weekly in-depth interviews with serious software founders who are building valuable software companies without big funding. You can check out my blog, all the podcast episodes, and information about my Practical Founders CEO peer groups at practicalfounders.com, or message me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. See you next week.